I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honour to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favourite podcast, Pop Culture Pasta.
Pop Culture Pasta.
So Cody, today I had to go to the city. That's what we say when you live in a small town and you go to a bigger town, you call it going to the city.
So I know several people that do that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of them.
No?
I will name and claim what city I went to.
Only specifics for Cody.
Yeah, like, because some people will say, oh, we went to the city, and they're talking about like Joplin. And I'm like, no, we don't call that the city.
Joplin's a city.
Literally, Dish Network had a commercial a few years ago that said, you can get Dish Network in such rural places as Joplin, Missouri.
Shocking Joplin slander.
I know.
By the Dish Network. Man, that's kind of harsh.
It is very harsh.
So I had to go to the city today because I had to go to a Best Buy for the last 2 months, my laptop has been shot. It's basically been a very expensive paperweight.
It looks fancy.
Yeah. It's a nice MacBook Air. It's got all my favorite stickers on it. Anyways, I'm sitting there doing my work one night and the operating system just crashes. Like it just went black. Then the little apple came on the screen after a few seconds and it starts re-downloading the operating system. Like the whole thing crashed. And I'm like, okay, no big deal. It'll re-download the operating system. All my stuff's in the cloud, so no problem. The problem is after it was done re-downloading the operating system, it asked for my password. Except it didn't ask for my password. It asked for some Apple ID's password I'd never seen before.
That's not a good sign.
No, it was Apple's anti-theft stuff. So basically what happened was I bought this out as an open box item from Best Buy. You know, when people buy something new and then you have like 10 days to bring it back, no questions asked if you don't like it.
You should always ask questions.
Yeah. I don't understand why you would buy something that expensive if you weren't sure that was what you wanted. But, you know, people are different.
So, like with TVs, I can see it. Because you buy it, quote unquote, for the big game. And then, oops, it didn't match the decor of the house.
It didn't match my wall color. Okay, but anyways, I bought this as a open box item 2 years ago, back in 2020.
Many moons ago.
And so I go round and round with Apple about this for the last 2 months because, Apple's not about the quick communication.
They are not.
They're also not about detailed communication. They just keep coming back and saying, sorry, we can't help you. That's the gist of the email. It's like one sentence, sorry, we can't help your claim. We're not going to remove the anti-theft lock with the different Apple ID. So I get someone on the phone finally, and they basically just say, hey, look, here's the deal. We're not going to accept the receipt you have from Best Buy as proof of ownership, which is weird. And they say it's Best Buy's problem, their mistake. You need to go through them. So I went to Best Buy today, and I was there for a total of about 4 hours.
That is ridiculous.
Now, everyone told me, listen, everyone, and I'm talking about Christians too.
Okay.
They all told me, you got to go in there and be a Karen.
No, don't do that.
That's what they told me.
That's bad advice.
And I went there today, and up until I walked in the door, I wasn't sure. I really didn't want to be a Karen. I'm a minister, and I wanted to give people the love of Christ. I know how hard it is to work in retail.
Oh, yeah, especially this time.
Yeah. And so but in my mind, I'm like, I was scared. I was like, what happens if I can tell they're leaning towards not helping me. Am I going to have to be a Karen? Okay. First of all, I hate that term too, because I know some Karens who are pretty nice people.
Yeah.
They didn't ask for this.
Use any other name.
Anyways, I go in and I kind of make my decision. They start re-downloading the operating system because they had to see it for themselves. It errors a couple times. It's 2 hours before they're able to see what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. And in that 2 hours, I'm so glad I chose to be kind because a couple people came in and it was exactly what you would think. They're the Geek Squad at Best Buy, right?
Yeah.
People bring broken things to them, and it's never their fault. This old dude came in with an iPad. He clicked a pop-up, but he said he didn't. But it was clear he clicked on it.
Hey, we've all been there.
He was like, I didn't click on it. And it was like, yep, but your whole iPad locked up, bro.
Says you clicked on it.
Anyways, it was all the Geek Squad's fault, right? You got to help me with this. And another guy was cursing at him. And so basically, I was just kind of there. And when customers would leave, I was still sitting there. And I'd be like, man, I basically said to him one place, like, I'm sorry you have to deal with this. And they're like, we're used to it. It's like, I know, but you don't deserve that. That's not, and I get it. I get people that they think this is how you get things done. But like, it's literally your job. You're going to get things done for them because it's what you're paid to do.
Yeah.
They were good sports about it. But at the end of the day, I got fully credited for what I paid for my old laptop. Like the guy said, yep, I think it was clearly Best Buy's fault. They didn't format this right. And they gave me full credit on what I paid for my old MacBook towards a new MacBook.
But you'll never get back those stickers.
No. And there was only one. I had a John Brown decal that I really, really liked.
That one.
And it was a Christmas present. I need to figure out where they got it.
That one I would have stole if I could have. So
it was a good decal, was it not?
It was.
And I had him positioned so that the Pop Culture Pastor air bubble, it looked like it was coming from him. So I need to get that sticker again because it was a great sticker.
And again, when you position it with a Pop Culture Pastor podcast air bubble,
yeah,
it works perfectly.
Anyway, all that's to say is remember to be kind to the people working retail this Christmas season. I know that it can be stressful for us. We're trying to get our gifts for people, or maybe you need to go visit the Geek Squad because you're having tech problems. Just, man, I was there. So I was there for 4 hours today, and I saw at least each person who worked there at least had to deal with at least 2 people who were belligerent, angry, and they all did it with like some pretty good grace. I was pretty impressed. Like one of them, you could tell it was getting to him a little bit. And before I left, I just told him, I was like, hey, I just want to say how much I appreciate you guys, and thank you for what you're doing. And I'm sorry that you have to deal with like other people's stress, because that's what it is. I don't think anyone thinks I'm going to go be mean to someone today. It just comes out when we're stressed out.
Yeah, it's a response.
Yeah,
not a good one, but it's a response.
Anyways, just a pleasant, humble reminder. Be kind. Be kind to people this holiday season.
And don't go in a guns a-blazing.
Anyways, this is the Pop Culture Pastor Podcast. I'm Dave. That's Cody.
It is me. And that opening was a good, friendly reminder. 'Tis the season.
For what?
To remember that Christ came to save the world and to be nice. My goodness.
All right. Yeah, that's great stuff.
Yeah, you didn't expect that.
How about a little pop culture news? You want some news?
I love some pop culture news.
Let's hit some pop culture news. We've got J.K. Rowling is in the news, writer of Harry Potter, and hated by progressives everywhere.
And person that's making bank off Fantastic Beast for not really writing anything about it.
That's true. She's got a defender here. Someone, a veteran from the Harry Potter series. Lots of actors and actresses from the movies have come out and kind of distanced themselves.
Especially the younger ones.
See, that's the key. Helena Bonham Carter, wife of Tim Burton, gave her thoughts on what she called cancel culture. She says the things with J.K. Rowling have become quite hysterical, and there's kind of a witch hunt and a lack of understanding. She says this. It's been taken to the extreme, the judgmentalism of people. She's allowed her opinion, particularly if she suffered abuse. Everyone carries their own history of trauma and forms their opinions from that trauma, and you have to respect where people come from and their pain. You don't all have to agree on everything. That would be insane and boring. I like that little addition she added there. She's not meaning it aggressively. She's just saying something out of her own experience. If she hadn't been the most phenomenal success, the reaction wouldn't be so great, as she chalked the so-called cancellation up to a lot of envy and the need to tear people down. Do you agree?
I don't disagree.
I do think there's something to that. Like, there's a common thread between people like J.K. Rowling and the criticism they get and MCU bashing.
Okay.
And at first, you're going to be like, how is that connected?
I'm not seeing it, but
I think we do have a need, a compulsion to tear down things that are successful. Like, it's the same Bezos. Elon Musk is a great example right now.
I was going to go with sports analogies of Patrick Mahomes and LeBron James.
Yeah.
That, like, if there's sustained greatness, we either get tired of that greatness continuing, or we're jealous of that sustained greatness and it looks too perfect and too good to be true. So we got to find the flaws and then rip it down.
But isn't it because we're envious because it does look too good to be true? It does look perfect. So we look for the flaws. She's right about that. There's an envy-based thing in here. There's she's living too good. I'm gonna tear this apart. And the same with LeBron. Look, LeBron, you're right. LeBron gets it from all over the place. And granted, LeBron, J.K. Rowling, celebrities in general, they do offer their opinion a lot. I think they invite a lot of the blowback sometimes because they do like giving their opinion on things. But like telling LeBron to shut up and dribble.
Don't do that.
What's that? Nobody looked at J.K. Rowling before Harry Potter hit it big and thought, oh, there's a perfect person with no flaws. And nobody cared.
Yeah.
So, like, Helena Bonham Carter's hitting on something here that I think has merit, which is you wouldn't care that she's a flawed person if you think she's flawed in that way. If she wasn't a huge... Is she a billionaire? I don't even know.
So at one point she had given away some money and then she lost that status. I don't know if she ever regained it, but
So she gave away a lot of money.
Well, enough to go down into
the millions,
several hundreds of millions. But at the same time, I mean, you're also when you go to this, I guess, position of trying to cancel someone, you assume that person actually has a huge sphere of influence. But like the things I credit J.K. Rowling with are like, oh, if I want to know more about the lore and back legend of some Harry Potter characters, yeah, she's my go-to source. Writing fiction for kids and young adults, yeah, I'll go to her. Solving the like peace in the Middle East, not my person I'm going to go to. And
right.
So like, I think that we expect everyone's going to be like, oh, they opened their mouth about this thing. Clearly everyone's going to jump on board, and now we're going to have all this hate speech and rhetoric. And it's like, yeah. The people that are going to echo some of her rhetoric, we're going to do that with or without J.K. Rowling.
Yeah. Well, right. And I think you said that well, which is like, hey, I care about J.K. Rowling's opinion on fantasy stories, but do I need her opinion on people who might be, have confusion about their identity? Like, no. Or the mental things that are at play with that? No, I don't need her opinion on that. I don't even need to understand it. I just need to like respect people and love them and make sure everyone around me knows that there's nothing that you do believe, say, that should make me feel any different about you or how valuable you are. We should value people, no matter what style of life they want to live. Now, clearly, there's a legal barrier.
Oh, yeah.
If you're out hurting people, we don't have to go for that. But I should be able to balance that sort of thing, even still, with, hey, you have value as a human being.
Not going to uplift your lifestyle choice of killing people.
Yeah, nope.
If that's it.
Nope.
But,
in that very severe scenario.
Yeah, like, and that's oftentimes where we do land is we go based off the extremes, where most of life is in the middle somewhere, and it's rarely black and white. It's often some various shade of gray.
Yeah, Helena Bonham Carter, she balanced this well too, because it's so often the culture wants us to side up. So while she did defend J.K. Rowling, she stopped short of maybe taking the opposite side of her castmates. So Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and Rupert Grint, the three main characters who've taken the opposite track when it comes to J.K. Rowling. She was asked if the young cast is ungrateful, but she said, I wouldn't say that. Personally, I feel they should let her have her opinions, but I also think that they're very aware of protecting their fan base and their generation. It's a hard place to be. I thought that was a very balanced answer, and saying, hey, just because we think differently about this particular subject doesn't mean we're on opposite sides here. They're doing it with a good heart. They're trying to protect people they think need protecting.
Yeah, and I mean, that's a well-informed insight by her, especially about her castmates that are younger, who I think are more aware of some of the burdens and trials and tribulations that part of the fan base does go through. And so being kind of an outspoken advocate can lend a lot of build up and support to that sector of the fan base.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting, you hardly ever get like really balanced things in the media these days. And so I thought her take on some of that was interesting.
She's an interesting person. For sure.
Her and Tim Burton both. They're very interesting. Let's talk about Will Smith. We haven't talked about Will Smith in a while.
William Smith.
He gave like his first kind of real interview where he talked about that night at the Oscars on All Places, The Daily Show with Trevor Noah.
Oh, wow.
He said this. He said that was a horrific night, as you can imagine. There are many nuances and complexities to it, but at the end of the day, I lost it. And I guess what I would say is you just never know what someone's going through. I was going through something that night. Not that justifies my behavior at all. And you're asking, what did I learn? Well, it's that we just got to be nice to each other. It's hard. I guess the thing that was most painful for me is I took my hard and made it hard for other people. I understood in that moment the idea of when they say hurt people hurt people. Yeah.
Some more good insight.
Well, people forgot. I think the reason that was such a shocking thing was because Will has said things that make you think he's a pretty thoughtful guy.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, I've seen several memes and quotes before that night at the Oscars that like humanitarian-esque philanthropist type quotes from Will Smith, and that even the best of us are going to have some hardship and trial, and our response will kind of be so out of character that you question everything about that person potentially. But again, there's outliers.
Yeah.
In which an outlier within statistics is something that happens less than 5% of the time.
Yeah.
So most of the time, Will Smith is acting like the person that you see most of the time. And that's who he really is most of the time. But in those extreme circumstances, we have kind of extreme reactions.
Yeah, he pressed him. Trevor Noah pressed him a little bit on it, and he went on to say because he kind of wanted to get into what was kind of fueling the anger, and he said, "quote It was a lot of things. It was the little boy that watched his father beat up his mother. All of that just bubbled up in that moment. That's not who I want to be, and I understand how shocking that was for people. On that stage, I was gone, dude. I was gone." That was a rage that had been bottled for a really long time, but I understand the pain. It was like my nephew is 9 and he's the sweetest little boy. We came home and he had stayed up late to see his Uncle Will on TV. And we're sitting in my kitchen. He's on my lap holding the Oscar. And he's just like, "Why did you hit that man, Uncle Will?" And as he went on in the interview, he kept reflecting on like kind of this inward battle of, well, that all of us face really. He said, "I had to forgive myself for being human. Trust me, there's nobody that hates that more than that I'm human more than me. I want to be Superman.
Yeah.
I want to swoop in and save the damsel in distress. And I had to humble down and realize that I'm a flawed human and I still have an opportunity to go out in the world and contribute in a way that fills my heart and hopefully helps other people." He's preaching at this point.
He is.
He's preaching. He's saying, recognize your brokenness. And he's had to do that in a big way, in a public way too, which is way harder than any of us have to do.
So I kind of have mixed feelings about Trevor Noah pressuring him to go deeper into it.
He wanted, that was for the ratings, right?
A little bit, but yet Will talking about his childhood and just being aware that like adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs as we call them within psychology and school circles, is something that it digs deep within you, that trauma or that experience, although our brains aren't hardwired, there's plasticity of the brain. I mean, that's a very primitive, it gets deep to the primitive parts of your brain. So when you go into like extreme fight or flight and that's triggered, I mean, it's almost a natural reflex that happens.
And he says it's all kind of foggy for him.
I bet.
He can't really tell you what he was thinking in that moment. Which would it lend itself to saying, yeah, he was in fight or flight. Like he's just in reaction mode at that time. Mm-hmm. And I think, again, anybody that was like wanting to criticize, that was the big thing right after it happened. You were either going to criticize Will Smith or Chris Rock for making the joke.
And like, for me, the main people that can make the criticisms of either person is the opposite person. Like, if I'm Chris Rock, I definitely don't want to get smacked by Will Smith.
But at the end of the day, he's okay too. Like, he's fine. Chris Rock's fine.
Although, like, this has brought up a whole bunch of stuff about Chris Rock as well. Like, he identified that he has a condition where he really doesn't recognize like facial expressions. So he can't tell that like if someone is like really furious, if they're joking.
Really?
And like he talked about that, and like he kind of, I don't know if he said that he has kind of like an Asperger's type thing going on as well, which is now autism spectrum, or if it's kind of like that, or if it actually is that. But he talked about like, there's reasons why I'm not like reacting the way you expect me to react up to that moment and past that moment.
Yeah.
But he still really Well, he was really upset about it still.
Yeah, he might still be because Will. He obviously the interview went on where he was asked if he's talked to Chris Rock, and he says, "I've reached out to Chris, and the message that came back is that he's not ready to talk, and when he is, he'll reach out." So he's not like he's reached out to him in the hope that he could apologize to him personally, but that Chris Rock wasn't ready. Wasn't ready to talk about it, and that's fine. I get it, but oh man, I'm here for the reconciliation of Will Smith and Chris Rock.
Yeah,
I'm deeply invested in that.
And I know like Tyler Perry and Denzel, and a few others were really wanting that to happen just because it kind of puts a divide amongst the community, and it's all about unity.
Yeah. Let's shift gears a little bit. We started off kind of deep there.
We did. I wasn't ready for it.
You're a big fan of the first two Home Alone movies.
Classics.
Some of your favorites, right?
All-time Christmas favorites. My parents really liked the third one. I think that they just hate Macaulay Culkin.
How did you like the third one?
It's a completely different story. Of course, you don't have the wet or sticky bandits.
Home Alone 3 is like the new Karate Kid. You remember that?
I did not watch it because
with Hilary Swank.
I did not need that in my life.
You're like, what's this trash?
Yeah.
That's not Ralph Macchio. Ralph Macchio, by the time the new Karate Kid comes out, is probably like 48. In Home Alone 2, you may remember the scene when Harry once again finds himself on the business end of a blowtorch.
That happens to the best of us.
Yeah. There's a similar scene in the first movie but in this one, he dunks his flaming head into a toilet, which unbeknownst to him is full of kerosene.
Yeah, which is a weird thing to put in your toilet.
Joe Pesci said this week that in addition to the expected bumps and bruises and general pains that you would associate with that particular type of physical humor, he sustained serious burns to the top of his head during that scene where Harry's hat is set on fire.
Oh no.
Like, wait, what? There wasn't like a stuntman doing that?
No.
You literally
hold
on. You literally lit Joe Pesci's head on fire.
Why did Joe Pesci not win an Oscar for this?
It's like, wait, what? That's nuts, dude. You're Joe freaking Pesci.
So I had wondered why his hair didn't match his hair in My Cousin Vinny. Now I know that there's burns on the top of his head.
He said he did let the pros handle the real heavy stunts. I'm like, dude, I don't know what much heavier than lighting your head on fire.
The paint cans to the face, the toolbox coming down the stairs.
How much money would you have to be paid to be like, Cody, we're gonna film a movie, but in the movie we're gonna set your head on fire, and we want it to be you and not a stuntman. You down with that? You okay?
Oh my goodness! Like my hair is a valuable commodity for me, just because my dad, like all my childhood, was bald, and so. Like as a man in my 30s, I'm excited I still have hair. Now you give me a few years and you're willing to pay off like all debts I owe and give me a little nest egg for the future. You can sign me up.
All right. Okay.
But let me get through.
This just in, you guys get excited. We're going to do a Pop Culture Pastor promo video and light Cody's head on fire. It's going to be amazing.
Start the GoFundMe now.
We're paying for Cody's medical bills. I'm sorry. We burned his hair off. Are you excited about the new Avatar movie?
No. I will be watching it because I love my wife. That's
wait, Leah's an Avatar fan?
Oh, huge Avatar fan. The reason that it is like the fourth highest grossing film of all time is because my wife watched it like 15 times in theater.
No. What?
I'm like, the best part of that movie was the graphics, and now it doesn't have that for it because everyone has the graphics.
Well, yeah, and 3D is kind of a dying thing because, like, at the time, so when that Avatar comes out, that was the only thing I think it had going for it more than anything else. It was the first time I remember seeing a movie in 3D where they used it in a way that made it interesting.
Yeah,
like they didn't just make it, a fuller picture with dimensions. Like they used it and filmed it. Like he filmed it in a way that made the 3D interesting.
Yeah.
And so I'll give James Cameron that. He did that well, but the story was trash.
Well, he stole from about 3 or 4 different stories.
Yeah, it was super derivative.
Pocahontas, Ferngully. I mean, the list goes on, really.
Yeah, and I was never really into it. But now there's a sequel coming out, however many years later. Avatar: The Way of Water. Every time I see a trailer, I'm just like,
that has to be at least 12 years, I would guess.
I just don't care. I don't care. And the trailers, am I wrong? But the trailers seem boring.
Well,
or am I just like someone that likes Avatar needs to review the trailer for me? Like, if you like Avatar, are you into that trailer?
My wife is.
It's like I can't even tell what's going on in it. Like what any kind of the story is. It's just kind of like, like feel good music with scenes of things swimming around in water.
I'd have to rewatch that film to feel prepared for this one. And I'm really not that invested. So,
well, I did not know this, but did you know he was making several?
I had heard the rumors.
So there's 3 more Avatar films that are already slated to release that he's been making along with this one to release in 2024, 2026, and 2028.
And who's signing on for all this?
Like, what? How?
Zoe Saldana, like...
What story needs to be fleshed out that it's going to take 3 more 3-hour movies to flesh it out? Like, dude, you could make more sequels to Dude, Where's My Car than that movie. And I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Jimmy's probably thinking, I have seen the fandom and the people flock to the MCU. Think if they knew how good of a writer and storyteller I am.
Yeah, so 5 movies. And recently, in an interview with Variety, he said, also there's an Avatar 6 and 7 mapped out already, and adding that he'd be 89 by then. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to make Avatar movies indefinitely, but the 7 and 8 have been mapped out to continue the story.
I was going to say, dude's 68 right now. Like, you're really kind of projecting way far into the future.
What possible story could they tell that would last 8 movies with this story? Like, look, the movie is essentially white people bad, blue people good.
Yep.
That's the story.
But there's a love story mixed in.
But that's like they're in love and together at the end of the first movie. What else you got to tell?
They have to have kids.
Oh man. I don't know, dude. Listeners, are you guys into this? Who's into Avatar? I need to know who's into this.
Besides my wife.
Besides Leah. Maybe we need to have Leah on and just say, we'll sit down. We'll have Leah sit here. Maybe we have one of the other geeks, because there's got to be, I bet one of the geeks in the round table is going to message us or say something like, oh, I'm totally into Avatar. Maybe we'll need to have them zoom in on a future episode and be like, yeah, I'm totally into this. And so we can be like,
it.
Yeah, please tell us why.
Because, like, when I watched Avatar the first time, after walking out of the theater with my 3D glasses that I did not recycle, I said to myself,
Self,
why on earth would anyone go watch this multiple times when I've already seen this movie like 3 or 4 other times when it wasn't stolen by James Cameron?
well, I said to myself, Self, I have no interest in going to see Avatar 2. That's not happening. Or 3, 4, 5, 6, or 7.
And then one of your kids gets into Avatar.
Listen, this dude's going to make 7 Avatar movies, and Martin Scorsese isn't going to say a dang word. He's not going to say a word, yet he's going to bust on MCU movies?
Yep.
MCU movies, like, listen, you could take the Thor: The Dark World. Is that the worst Marvel movie?
It's definitely in the running.
Thor: The Dark World is like Shakespeare compared to the first Avatar.
Burn notice.
I'll say it. It's way deeper.
I'm here for that burn.
Nobody's going to complain about James Cameron, though. All right. I'm done.
I thought that he made too many Terminator movies. And I liked the first Terminator.
Yeah, the first 2 Terminators are great.
Yeah.
I'm not really that bitter towards it until he said he was going to make 7 of them. And now I'm just like, come on.
Get off my lawn.
Slow down, James. All right. Well, we're about to move on to the main portion of our podcast. We're going to come back and review Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special in our special Christmas series.
There will be spoilers.
There will be spoilers. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. It's time for the main portion of our podcast. Every pod until Christmas, we are going to review as the main part of the pod. We're going to review a new Christmas special / or movie.
Home Alone.
Nope. Not unless we're going to do last year's new one, because I'd never watched it.
Oh.
Did you watch it?
No. I was talking about the original.
No. They're not Be Kind Rewinds. We're watching new ones. We're letting the listeners vote on it.
It could be new to someone.
I doubt it. Everybody's seen Home Alone.
You have too much faith in humanity, Dave.
If anyone listening has not seen Home Alone, please let us know, because that'd be amazing. We would need to do a live watch of that. We'll put one camera on you for facial expressions while you're watching. See how many times you really laugh. And also, if you're under the age of like 25, it'd be great, because you're not going to understand any of it.
Oh,
you're going to
yeah.
be like, why didn't they just... Where's all the cell phones? This would never happen.
You're correct. It wouldn't. But still.
Anyways, you guys voted in the Pop Culture Pastor community group, which if you're not a member of that group, you should join. We've put that on the page several times. But we put a poll in there of some of the new movies. You can add... if we didn't include one, you could add one. A couple got added this week, so they'll
nice.
Probably go on the next poll for next week's pod.
The Little Drummer Boy was probably not added.
Is that a real one, or is that that's a song? Was there a cartoon?
Old one.
Oh, old one. Okay. They chose the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
The one I was most excited about.
I would say it was up there, maybe tied or second place maybe of the ones I was most excited to watch. And it did not disappoint. This show, okay, first of all, spoilers. We're going to spoil this. So if you haven't seen it.
So much spoiling.
It's short. It's like 45 minutes long. It's like Christmas special length. Go watch it now before you listen to the pod, because first of all, it's stinking hilarious. It's so good.
It's James Gunn.
Oh, and it's like James Gunn concentrated. Right? Mm-hmm. Because he doesn't have to tell some overarching story. So it can just be like this kind of zany, it's just this sort of zany Christmas adventure.
So going into it, my big concern was how good of a storyteller is James Gunn? Because when you have 2 hours to mess around with, you can stumble upon a story. But condense it down to 40 to 45 minutes,
Yeah.
it's a little bit tougher.
I'm going to see how few sentences I can sum up the plot of this show.
Okay.
Star-Lord is sad. Drax and Mantis, in an attempt to brighten him up, want to recreate the Earth holiday of Christmas. So they go to Earth to kidnap Kevin Bacon, who, as Guardians canon will tell you, is one of the favorites of one Peter Quill. And they kidnap him, bring him back. Hijinks ensue. And lots of great music.
So much great music.
The end. Merry Christmas. Like, yeah, I mean, there's really not much to it, but it's amazing. So good.
And it does make sense, though. Like, it fits with the Guardians universe that we have known to love through the first 2 films and the Infinity Saga glimpses of the Guardians.
Well, what's great is like it works on a couple levels. One, it works as like this kind of homage to goofy Christmas specials, like especially like the Star Wars Christmas special in the 80s. It's clearly an homage to that, and it's so goofy and fun. But also, there's like important plot things in here that they drop in that are clearly setups for the 3rd movie that's going to come out.
Yeah, and maybe even important plot details for the MCU down the road that might not fully involve the Guardians.
Yeah. So like there's cool stuff in here. Let's just jump into the nice list. This is the category where we talk about what we liked about it. And the first thing I would like to bring up is the first thing you're confronted with when you start watching it, the music.
I was going to say that first song. Oh my god.
Who is that? I mean, I should have looked that up, but like the first line as the like credits are showing, as the Marvel logo's coming up, it was Christmas Eve, babe, in the drunk tank. And you're like, what is this? But the music in the whole stinking show is just great. There's a Smashing Pumpkins Christmas song in there. The old 97s who play the band on Nowhere, the Alien band.
Oh yeah.
Are they amazing? Santa is a furry freak with epic superpowers. He flies to every human home in under 14 hours. He's a master burglar. Nope. A pro at picking locks. If you don't leave milk and cookies, he'll put dung in your socks.
Yes. This is all true.
That's the catchiest Christmas song of the season. And frankly, it has earned regular rotation in my Christmas music.
So that song, I'm laughing throughout. Like he'll shoot missiles at your toes.
And it's like, it's catchy. It's an earworm.
is.
It's good.
And like you said, like throughout the whole movie, they put in a ton of songs and good music. And I'm like, is that the Smashing Pumpkins? It
Yeah.
sounds like
Yeah.
it. And my wife's like, yeah,
It's
that
to-
is.
It's totally the sweet sounds of Billy Corgan.
I'm
Belting
like,
out a Christmas song.
they made Christmas music?
They did. So like, do you remember those, what were those? They were compilation albums.
Now that's what I call Christmas.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah. And it was a compilation Christmas album. And I'm pretty sure I remember hearing
Punk
that song.
Goes Christmas.
Also, you know, if you wanted to hear Sting's version of Three Ships Came Sailing In or whatever that song is.
Yeah, I'm good
On
with that.
Christmas Day in the morning. That one.
Yeah. That's not a rotational piece.
They
of my
were
Christmas.
largely trash. I'm just going to tell you up
Yeah.
front that the compilation Christmas albums were largely trash.
Yeah, don't need that.
But the music in this was great. And the old 97s, the Alien band, everything about. First of all, have they done acting before? Because they were great.
James Gunn's really close friends with them.
Okay.
So I don't know if they've been in something that James Gunn has made and I just wasn't aware, or if Just be yourselves, guys.
The whole first conversation between him and Peter Quill is just great. Everything about it was gold. And like at the end, when he's like jamming with the revolving arm, and he's like, "You just got these instruments." The whole opening scene just grabs you and just rubs your face in the laughs.
It does.
So good, so good. What was something you liked? What's on the nice list for you?
I'll go with Mantis.
Yeah.
Because so this is the first like deep interaction that you get of Mantis without Ego's presence being around and having an effect on her. And so you're getting to see who she really is, and the love and care that she puts forth in trying to recreate something for Peter. And it's definitely moving, and she steals a lot of scenes that she's in. Like her interaction on Earth is funny, especially when they go to the bar and like she has her first drink and like fumes are coming out.
Well, it's so much fun because like her and Drax are like these kind of underutilized characters.
They are.
So the genius of this is like he highlights them. He gives them the bulk of the storytelling. And who knew that those two together are just dynamic? That's a dynamic duo. They're so good together. It was so funny.
When they come on to Earth and she's like, "Why are they staring? Have you not turned on the cloaking device?" And then he starts to turn the knob and he's like, "No, it's been on." And she's like, "I just saw you turn it on." "No, you didn't."
Yeah, the actress who plays Mantis, her name is Palm Clementif. I think I'm saying that right. And there's even subtle things going on here that you might not notice that are even hilarious. The way she laughs like my youngest daughter, like this kind of obnoxious. It's so stinking funny, and it tells you something like about her maturity level, like that she's kind of still a little girl stuck in this alien adult body.
Yeah.
And it like the subtle things about that are really, it just kind of is genius.
And again, like Drax being there, Dave Bautista, showing that he is an actor. And those two, when they're on scene together, hilarity happens.
Yeah. The animation as flashback.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that, listen, even after watching this, I'm a believer in James Gunn. This dude being in charge of the DCU is a great thing.
We're back!
Because, like, I am totally pumped because there's so many things he does that are specific choices that are so smart. So by, like first of all, it's a flashback, which is hard to do if you're like, you got to go find a kid actor for Peter Quill. You got to get, pay Michael Rooker to come back and get in the makeup. And instead he makes an animation, which works on a couple levels. You don't have to do all those things. And you get like this it gives you this Christmas special feel. Like the Christmas special part of it is not lost in any of this.
I'm like, this reminds me of watching Frosty the Snowman.
Yeah.
Or although Rudolph's kind of claymation, but yeah, I mean, you get that Christmas special that, this is going to be 45 minutes of just good family entertainment.
You could have told me that this was a Christmas special if I didn't know any better, that this was a Christmas special that came out in 1988 and I'd have believed it. It, like, the entertainment genre of this is so just a throwback. It's all a throwback. And man, props to James Gunn. It's wonderful. What else is on your nice list?
Kevin Bacon.
Kevin freaking Bacon.
Bacon.
Like, so the payoff of a fun joke from the first movie results in getting you get Kevin Bacon to kind of make fun of himself.
Oh yeah.
Because he's not he's not super relatable in the first part. He's got a fancy house. He's kind of annoyed at the people, the aliens trying to get his attention. He's kind of aloof and detached.
And something that I really appreciated. So anytime he's on the phone, it's with his wife, Kira Sedgwick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they got Kira to call him.
They were all in. They were all in except for their house, because fun side note, that's Crowder, Christian musician Crowder's house.
Formerly of David Crowder Band, now just solo Crowder.
Yeah, that's a real thing. I had to show my wife and prove it. She didn't believe me. She was like, "What?" I was like, "Literally, that's Crowder's house."
I told that to my wife, and she's like, "That's too nice of a house."
Yeah, well, my wife was like, "How did that happen?" I was like, "Quite by accident." It's not like they knew each other. He didn't know anybody involved. It was just a happy accident.
I like to think Chris Pratt had something to do with it.
Yeah, maybe. Cosmos.
Oh yeah.
This is why also I think James Gunn will do great things for the DCU, because he gets comic book nerds, because he is a comic book nerd. And having Cosmo join, essentially what you're seeing is, what I love about this is that it appears that Cosmo is going to be on the team in Guardians 3.
Huzzah.
And that is fantastic. So Cosmo in the comics is a Russian space dog.
Yep.
Who ends up getting telekinesis and talks through, mental telepathy.
So fun fact, it's voiced by the daughter on Borat 2. And so I'm here for it.
Oh man, Cosmo! I literally squealed when Cosmo came on the screen and started talking, and is like, "Can I get one of those yummy treats in your pocket?" Oh man, that was so good and so perfect. So Cosmo was on my list. Also, the appearance of a GoBot.
I was going to say.
Such a deep cut. Wait, so not only is they're on Hollywood Boulevard.
They are.
And there's all the people dressed up. Most of them are MCU characters. And then there's this random dude who doesn't look anything like it. He looks like a cheap Transformer.
He does.
Because he is a cheap Transformer. Listen, for all of you that don't know, let the 80s kid break it down for you. GoBots were what my parents got me for Christmas when I asked for Transformers. They were the cheap cousin to Transformers. GoBots sucked.
They did.
There was even a terrible cartoon, and he sees him, and he wants to go after him, and Mantis is holding him back, and she says, "GoBots killed his cousin." Drax, stop being a bigot.
Which that line, I died at.
Oh, yeah, I've watched it twice and I died both times. And then when it flips back to him and he's beating the nerd out of him, like it's a dude in a cardboard box costume, and he's hitting him in the cardboard head.
It's perfect.
Oh man! And once again, James Gunn is a fellow nerd.
Yeah, and
GoBots are a deep cut.
They are, and I mean, literally, he gets the fandom, he gets the nerdiness, and I mean, he gets something that he does well in all his shows is he gets kind of the obscure characters that you'd have to be a fan to know who they are. Mm-hmm. And then boom, there they are. They're in it. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's them.
I mean, the GoBot thing definitely proves that he's not afraid of throwing in some deep cut reference Easter egg.
So in Peacemaker, which you haven't watched yet, Peacemaker runs off and this undercover officer is telling police officers no, that wasn't Peacemaker. And then he begins to describe the character that runs off. And one of the police officers is like, I think he just described the Hamburglar. I mean, he does these funny homages, and it's great.
I will say that I've been stalling on watching Peacemaker. This, I think, finally threw me over. I need to watch Peacemaker, and I need to watch it soon because this was so good. It was just so good. I loved this.
So I did like how he has a crew of people that are like, they work with him and they're like his people from then on out.
Yeah, I love that his brother's in all his stuff.
Yeah, his brother's in all his stuff.
Whose former claim to fame was he was the weird guy in Gilmore Girls. Like that was his big thing. And now he's what's his name? I can't remember. But he's wearing Yondu's fin now.
Yeah, that threw Leah off because she's like, he hasn't always looked like this. And I'm like, no, he's wearing Yondu's arrow guidance thing. And she's like, oh, that's it. Mm-hmm. But like John Cena and Margot Robbie's heads pop up on the celebrity map.
Yep.
And then Flula Borg is the bartender, which he's in the Suicide Squad movie. And so like he has a strong connection with his cast.
Yeah.
That Batista said he would have been in the Suicide Squad movie if Zack Snyder hadn't asked him already to be in the zombie movie that he was in.
Yeah. Anything else on your nice list? Anything you want to single out here?
The whole movie.
Yeah, it's all good. In particular, also, you mentioned the bar scene. Any of the scenes where Drax and Mantis are mixing with humans, oh man, it's all gold. The scenes where like they're taking pictures with people on Hollywood Boulevard, the bar scenes are great. Everything is so funny when they're around because Drax like just doesn't get anything. When they're sitting on the street after the bar scene and they're lamenting how are they going to find Kevin Bacon, and Mantis says, there's literally tens of thousands of humans on Earth.
Try 8 billion.
How completely lost they are when it comes to being on Earth. It's just hilarious.
One thing I will mention, the movie that Kevin Bacon's watching inside his house.
Yeah.
Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yes, that was actually made famous by Mystery Science Theater 3000. Were you a fan of that show?
Oh yeah.
I didn't know if that was too old for you or
Nope. That hits like right in my wheelhouse.
Yes.
And so I'm like, hey, I recognize this.
It's so amazing too because the way that it comes up is Kevin Bacon's watching it and he starts cackling at it. It's so good. So good. And again, that goes back to James Gunn's like pop culture savviness. Like I think should we just like make James Gunn an honorary pop culture pastor? Like should we just give him that title?
I already gave him that as soon as he said yes to DCU.
Yeah. I think we need to because he is totally a geek at heart like us and just amazing.
Yes.
Let's talk about the naughty list. What didn't we like besides the Guardians who don't get Zarg nuts after Mantis ate them all?
Yeah.
the poor rest of the Guardians who wanted the Zarg nuts. Forget about the Zarg nuts. What's not so good?
There really wasn't a lot that stood out in that category.
I mean, all I really got are the poor other Guardians who don't get Zarg nuts.
Yeah.
All I can do is be funny with it because I'm really racking my brain to try and think of maybe it could have been longer. I wanted more.
Yeah.
But then it wouldn't have that Christmas special feel. That's so perfect.
Like maybe I could use more of Nebula dancing.
Yes. Yeah. Like I need a scene of Nebula and Zemo dancing together.
Dance off.
Oh man. So, like, what is it with the MCU and the iconic dancing?
So I guess there is one thing,
Okay.
and it's primarily because like I watched it maybe 2 days after it dropped. Yeah, I'd watched it 2 days after it dropped. And I had seen a spoiler that old Luke Skywalker was in it. And like everyone had shared it. And like it was gospel fact. Even major pop culture outlets had shared it. And I'm watching it, I'm like, man, they made him look kind of rough.
The danger of social media right here.
And then it wasn't him.
Nope.
Although it was.
It does look like him.
It was funny. His son tweeted, "No, that's not my dad." And then Mark tweets back, "Are you sure?"
Mark Hamill seems fun, by the way.
Yes. In which he's a comic book guy, having voiced several animated characters, and again is Luke Skywalker. So.
Yeah. Okay. I do have one thing.
Okay.
One thing. Groot. What's going on with Groot?
No, I loved it. Loved Groot.
Okay.
Swole Groot. That's
So-
what they call him.
At first, I thought, oh, look, they put like a guy in a real suit to be Groot because it's a Christmas special and you don't have as much money to spend on the Christmas special. Like if you go back and watch the Star Wars Christmas special, like some of the stuff in it looks janky.
Of course it does.
It's quite jank. And so I thought, oh, look, they're being funny by making Groot kind of janky. But that was CGI. It wasn't a dude in a suit. They just made him super swole.
Oh, because it's a whole new Groot.
I know, but he looks weird. At no point in the comics is he swole like that.
Well, it's a new Groot.
All right.
It's not Groot that we were introduced to in Guardians 1. It's the son of Groot.
It is a minor gripe, but there's not that many things to gripe about, I'll go ahead and point it out. Groot was weird. The second time I got more used to it, but on the first watch, I was totally distracted by Groot.
Which I love now that everyone that it has been with the Guardians for a while knows Groot.
They know Groot language.
And like Peter's able to be like, you never wanted to go along with this. I just saw you wheel him out.
Can we let's give some flowers to Vin Diesel for a second, who's acting through saying the same line, but in different inflections and points, where he's trying to say, what are you guys doing? And he's like, yeah, I am Groot. Perfect. It was perfect. It literally I started laughing immediately because I knew that's what he was saying. He was like, yeah, what are you doing, you guys?
So there was an Easter egg that I didn't pick up on because it was so small. And I guess that's going to be a gripe because this is our griping section. Mm-hmm. But Kingo from Eternals.
You didn't catch that the first time.
Like it, because I mean, it's a poster of like one of his movies. That's being advertised on the Hollywood
Kingo Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally went Leonardo DiCaprio meme. I was like, oh, Kingo, rewind it.
And I'm like, because I didn't catch it till the second time. And then I was reading stuff to look for as I'm watching it that time. And I'm like, oh, that is him. This is like the first time we mention any of the Eternals outside the Eternals.
Yeah, I'm just going to tell you. Actually, Miss Marvel has a Kingo mention.
Well, I didn't watch Miss Marvel. So.
I am here for that because I've said before that the only character I really need to see more of in the MCU is the Black Knight, which was Dane Whitman, the boyfriend of Cersei in the Eternals. I'm going to amend that. I need some more Kingo. Kingo is like the only other character where I'm like, yeah, it'll be a crime if we don't see Kingo again in the MCU.
I mean, I like Cersei.
Well, she's fine. Not a must. Well, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying I could live without seeing them again. Now, if Cersei pops up, that's great.
I'll be like, hey,
it's the Eternal Lady who's a member of the Avengers sometimes.
And was in Captain Marvel already.
Like, I'm just going to tell you, when Cersei was an Avenger in the comics, I really wasn't that enamored with her. Even in the comics, I was like, oh, hey, it's Cersei, who I don't really care about. But if it's a package deal with her in the Black Knight, I will take her.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm just saying Kingo has attained that level for me. I need some more Kingo in the MCU.
So James Gunn delivering some Kingo nostalgia for you.
And I'm hopeful because they're starting to pepper in the Kingo stuff through. Like I said, they mentioned him in Miss Marvel as well. So I'm hopeful that Kingo's going to make another appearance. It's time for the Christ in Christmas Award. Did the movie make any references to the real reason for the season?
There was a nativity scene, and the way they look at it.
So Drax is just staring. Drax just doesn't move. But Mantis is like looking at it with this kind of weird, perplexed looks. And then she looks at Drax like, what in the world? Why are we looking at this baby in a barn? It was like, if you're not going to allude to the real reason for Christmas at all, honestly, it would have been weird because it's a zany kind of space adventure.
Yeah, in which Pete hasn't been on Terra forever. So, like, those traditions are going to be kind of an afterthought on him, and they're not going to be passed on to the rest of the Guardians.
I really feel that the way they drop it in was perfect. Just because, like, they didn't have to put that in there, but they did. And it was like James Gunn's version of like, hey, yeah, by the way, this is what Christmas was about. And it would super seriously confuse Drax and Mantis.
Oh, yeah. Which...
Do you think there's actually a nativity on Hollywood Boulevard anywhere?
I have a feeling some church probably wheels it out.
You think it's out there? It is Hollywood. They probably have a live nativity going on.
But I mean, Pete's story is kind of, not a good one, but kind of the Christ story where there's a mom and then she gets impregnated or becomes pregnant by a supernatural or a deity. And, but I mean,
that's about
ego's not good.
No.
And ego's killing people left and right. Yeah. So we lose the connectivity there. And I mean, Pete saved the world in this series of movies. So
after not saving it at first, though.
Yeah.
When he kind of messed up with Thanos. Anyways, we won't revisit that. The Macaulay Culkin Award. Who gets the biggest boost to their career because this exists?
Kevin Bacon.
How's Kevin Bacon get a boost? He's Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon is more of kind of a trivial thing now, I feel, for this generation.
But there's literally a game based on the ridiculousness of his longevity and spread in the acting profession.
There is, but I don't know if like Gen Z knows about it or...
All right.
So, like...
Do they need to know about Kevin Bacon? Maybe he's ready to ride off into the acting sunset.
No. More bacon.
More bacon. I'm going to say Dave Bautista.
Okay.
So he's consistently, I would say, in the first two Guardians movies, I'm going to say he's consistently the funniest character in those two movies.
Yeah.
But he doesn't get a lot of things to do. So I think it's so awesome that him and Mantis, Palm Clementif,
get to carry this.
They get to become the center figures of this show, and they're just wonderful. And Dave Bautista really, like, again, he's a character who doesn't read social cues.
Yeah.
And it's like they say it's because of his race. Like that's kind of the joke. But he resembles like humans that have like, maybe on the spectrum.
Yeah.
They don't pick up those social cues. And what I love about what he does is there's like heart in it. So he's supposed to, he laughs at all the wrong things.
Yeah.
He likes chaos. But then there's like real heart behind things. The things he does with his face when Mantis says, do you want to save Peter's Christmas or do you want your little inflatable guy? And the 5 seconds they give to silence while he's working it out. I want my little inflatable guy. It's just it's so perfect. And I'm just so happy that Dave Bautista has an acting career after being like a pro wrestler. I'm glad that him and John Cena have proven that these guys have acting chops, because The Rock didn't help. Dave Bautista is a way better actor than The Rock. I said it.
So if Batista goes over to the DC,
That's possible, by the way.
DC will have the 3 big wrestlers.
He would make a great Lobo.
He would.
Yeah, he'd make a great Lobo. I know that a lot of people were like, the guy that plays Aquaman should be Lobo. And I'm like, he's Aquaman. You can't make him a different character in the same universe.
Unless Flash resets everything, which
It'd still be weird.
it would be.
So, yeah, Cody says Kevin Bacon. And I say Dave Bautista. Some of his quotes in this movie, like after the cartoon beginning, and he starts laughing. My favorite part was when Yondu kicked over the Christmas tree. Dancing is for people who are pathetic. He like always says the wrong thing.
Yeah, I know it was a sad story. No one died.
Oh man, yeah, he gets so many opportunities to just be really, really funny.
When they're talking about the candy cane, and he's like, "You got to keep your little man." She's like, "You think this is a man?"
Well, and she blows up on him too. She's like, "That's because I was responsible enough to hold on to it." And she's wonderful too.
So she would be like, if we're going with this as making someone's career and launching them, she would be my obvious choice. But I think this is relaunching the season of bacon.
The season of the bacon. The Rankin Bass Lifetime Achievement Award. Can this be a Christmas classic? 30 years from now, will little kids be still watching the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special?
So I'm going to say yes, but it really depends on something.
Okay. Hit me.
It depends on if the critics that are very outspoken against this comic book movie boom are correct that this is just a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
But if this lasts for at least another decade, you're going to have like 3 generations that are going to feel nostalgic about it, because there's not really that many Christmas comic book offerings except for Michael Keaton's second Batman movie.
Yeah, Hawkeye. So me and my kids started rewatching Hawkeye.
Yeah, but
loosely. Like it's not really Christmas centric.
But this is like something quick and easy to watch in one setting, where like every Christmas I know I'm going to put on Rudolph because I love to hear, "Don't you know Bumbles bounce?" And so like I know I'm going to watch that movie, and now this is another movie that I can add to that, and Frosty, and all those movies that are just like short little films that it doesn't take hardly any time. I don't have to plan a whole lot of like, okay, it's going to interfere with this and this. No, I can watch this quickly, the length of like a TV series episode with advertisements.
Yeah, I know this is going to be a favorite of my kids. Therefore, for us, it's probable that this is a new Christmas classic. This will be in rotation in our Christmas viewing for years. But you're kind of right. There's something in that makes me sad that it is attached so thickly to the MCU, because when I think about the MCU, I think I'm kind of cynical, because I still remember the comic book geeky days of my youth where it wasn't cool.
Yeah.
Not that many people liked comic books. So a little of all this still seems kind of unbelievable to me. And I feel like that cynical part of me is like, it can't last long. Like at some point it'll fall off, or they'll reboot. Like eventually they'll reboot and tell new stories with different actors with the same characters, and it'll be the same, but different for me. Cause like if in some point in the future, when I'm 80 years old, if they reboot all this, it won't be the same for me.
Oh yeah.
This run that they've had will always hold a special place in my heart. And so,
well, it's definitely changed the culture and the narrative, because growing up, the heroes that were popular and mainstream, so like really the big one was like Spider-Man, and this is before the Tobey Maguire movies, so I should give context. Before the Tobey Maguire movies, like you would see some celebrities like talk about Spider-Man. You would see a lot of celebrities have like either Batman or Superman tattoos. Shaquille O'Neal comes to my mind, has the big S, not only because Shaq, but because he's a fan of Superman. And so like there's only a few franchises or a few comic book heroes that are really like in the mainstream and everyone's going to get that reference. I mean, with like my parents' generation, you could talk about Wonder Woman because Linda Carter but like it wasn't that big of a deal. And really, DC kind of had a monopoly on like recognizable things because their symbols really pop, like the Wonder Woman logo, the Superman logo, and the bat.
Yeah.
You instantly know.
The most recognizable Marvel property before like the 90s is the Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
But it's more Lou Ferrigno. he's the symbol.
He is.
Him and Bill Bixby. And so like, yeah, that's not, and it was really, that show was kind of an oddity. Like it was it was very much like kind of a tragedy. It was all, that show was like built like a Greek tragedy, like the part of the Hulk that was all tragic.
Yeah. And as a little kid, there's like a Wolverine X-Men series, like cartoon series that's on. And so like cartoons, you get more of the superhero stuff because I know in the 70s or 80s, there was like the Justice League cartoon and you would have the Wonder Twins turning into the stupidest items ever.
Form of an ice cube. No, Wonder Twins.
But I mean, it really wasn't mainstream and it wasn't stuff adults did.
Yeah.
So,
all right, final grades. How many out of 10 wise men are you giving this special? The Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special.
I'll give it 8.5.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to give it a 9. I really, really liked this. I think this hits all the sweet spots for what I think makes a good Christmas movie or special. Amazingly enough, although I didn't grow up in church, some people might be surprised to hear a pastor say, I don't need the Jesus stuff for a good Christmas special. In fact, I don't think that's what makes a good Christmas special. Like if I want that, I'll read the Bible. If I want that, I'll watch the Chosen Christmas special. I think what makes a good Christmas movie is you tell a story with the main themes of the Jesus story, which are grace, reconciliation, and brotherly love.
In which at the end you get that between Mantis and Peter, because she finally tells him, hey, I'm your sister. And she thought that anytime he sees my face, he's going to think about his dad and all the awful things his dad did, including killing his mom, and he will hate me. And No, he was super excited, and it was the best Christmas gift he ever received. And that is after you find out that he got his guns from Yondu.
Yep. Something like, it's so cool that they can have those moments in there in this like kind of zany, wacky Christmas special, that you can still add these moments of like, hey, there's these themes. There's some grace, there's some reconciliation. And finally at the end, goodwill towards men, brotherly love, you know,
Yes.
like this connection.
Which I love the fact with the animated story portion that, like, first you get, Yondu hates Christmas and he hates everyone that's freeloading and giving and all this. And then at the end,
Side note, my favorite part about that is he clearly doesn't know what Christmas is. And he's like, I hate Christmas.
yes. And then, like, he goes back, he opens up the gift that was meant for him, and he's just a big old softy.
Yeah.
He makes or gives Pete a gift, wraps it up, because that's what Pete did for him. And then he cranks the tunes as they're flying off.
Yondu is clearly modeled after dads in the 50s. The dads who were all like hard on the outside, and underneath the exterior, there was the teddy bear.
Yeah.
That generation in particular was like, had to project this macho-ness, coldness.
Machismo.
But on the inside was all heart. All heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Loved this special.
Loved it. Loved it. Man, whatever we watch next week's got to, it's got to live up to this somehow. I don't know.
It does.
It could be a bloodbath. It could be a bloodbath to follow this. We'll let you guys decide.
Yep.
We'll put the poll up this weekend, and you can vote on what we're reviewing next. It's a Christmas season pod miracle where you guys get to tell us what we're reviewing.
You're welcome.
You are welcome. Thank you so much for listening. As usual, make sure you subscribe to the pod. Our year-end thing for Spotify came out, and it said only 50% of the people that listen to our pod actually subscribe to it.
What?
Yeah. What's that about? So listen, people, I don't just say this to say it. Subscribe to the pod. If you're on Apple, Spotify, whatever, follow it, subscribe, whatever terminology they use. It really helps us. It really helps us get it out there. It helps us in the algorithm and the rankings. That all helps.
I did see that evidently we produce 98% more our content. We produce more content than 98% of the people within the pop culture genre.
Yeah. See, we're committed to bringing you content.
There's only 1% that is doing just as much or slightly more.
And they're making Joe Rogan money.
They are.
All right. We appreciate you guys, though, for real. Make sure and subscribe, review and rate us, all that happy stuff. Follow us on social media. Share us when you can. It all helps us to, hey, bring you more content.
Yes.
All right. Merry Christmas season. More Christmas coming up next week.
Yep.
You get to decide. We'll see you then.